Welcome. My name is Laura Christiansen. I'm the curator of manuscripts and archives, and I'm here today with Bronwen Souders, local historian and author. And she has graciously joined us to tell us about her book, The Thinkin Rug. After the Civil War, all families have secrets, which is a wonderful tagline. So thank you for joining us today, Bronwen. To get started, I was hoping you would tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write this book and how it came together.
Okay, well, it's been a long time in the coming. For 24 years, I've been a docent, or I was, I'm not anymore, a docent at the Second Street School Living History program, which is available to fourth graders who are studying the Black community of Waterford in the 1880s. And we learn about the school had begun in 1867. It had trustees, Daniel Webster Minor, among others. And I wondered, where have these kids gone? Where are they? And then a little while later, I was transcribing something by Sarah Rucker Gordon, born in 1896 in Waterford. And she said her grandfather was Daniel Webster Minor. And just like that, I thought the families are still here. So I have since spent many years having wonderful conversations with descendants, and many of those anecdotes are in the story. Yeah, they're in the story.
That's wonderful, though, and that's so exciting. I know I talked to a lot of people here who come through the library who visited the Second Street School as a school trip, you know, and they all have good memories, I think.
Wonderful.
And I think that's wonderful to be inspired by a place to wonder what happened.
Yes, and when Waterford is still, we're National Historic Landmark for those viewing from out of state. And it's very much the same, obviously updated, but not so difficult to imagine what it would have been in 1880.
Excellent. So Waterford plays a role in this story, obviously, and I loved some of the details that you worked in about Waterford itself. Could you tell us a little bit about how Waterford inspired you? I mean, obviously the Second Street School, but
yes. Well, it's interesting because as a child, I thought history was boring. And when I came here, and I live a mile outside Waterford on an old farm, it was originally 400 acres, built by enslaved labor. They're listed in the slave census, 1850, 1860. And you think, whoa, for a Westerner, that's a big deal. And gradually, as I learned through, again, research at Balch with the censuses that you have, it's all right there every 10 years. Who lived where, what they were doing, who they're related to, who's in the household. And you just start building kind of a database. And by the time you talk to some of those descendants, for example, one woman said they loved picking wild violets for one of the Quaker women because she'd give them 5 cents a bouquet. Oh. And so I worked that in. The deaf Mattie really existed, didn't go to school because she couldn't hear, couldn't speak. Her siblings did, and perhaps they passed on a little bit of knowledge, but I wanted to include her as well. But the village, yes, the layout, it simply has not changed.
No, it's wonderful to look at. You have a map, thank you.
Yes.
With maps are always wonderful. To kind of look at it and see places that are familiar. And to be able to kind of go there and visit it today and walk through the stories, locations is wonderful for readers.
That's right. And then the farm is my own farm, which has been much subdivided, but we have the old farmhouse and 30 acres. And there was our big wing, as we call it. The living room section was built in 1880, and there was a massive lintel over the door. And it wasn't too far from that to get into a little drama for the historical fiction story.
Yeah, it's to be inspired by your surroundings.
Yes, indeed.
Wonderful. Well, and I know I enjoyed also the illustrations, and I know I'll hold it up, but they're tiny. And that's a wonderful way too for readers who can't visit Waterford or maybe too far away.
Right.
To see. And I was interested in learning more about how you found these illustrations.
Okay, they are in the Waterford Fair booklets.
Cool.
Waterford Fair has been a tradition since 1944. And we've always had local artists drawing ink sketches. And as I looked through the collection of all booklets, I thought, oh my goodness, there was a good one of the cemetery, there's a good one of the fireplace. William Winder did that. So I thought that would be appropriate.
Wonderful.
So that's where they came from.
No, and if you are out there and you're interested in seeing other illustrations from the booklets, we do have all of them, I think, here at Balch Library, which we're happy, and they come in handy.
A lot of information in them, and
wonderful information.
A lot has changed. I mean, some of the companies that advertised for us in 44 are still around, and others are not. So it's a bit of a history of the county.
I think you do such a good job here of creating a world that people can walk around in. With historical fiction, sometimes I think that's difficult for authors. But you've done a lovely job here.
Well, thank you. It's walking in the village every day for mail or learning about the families, and through the census, again, the census taker goes house to house generally. So, and then you do the deeds that John Devine's research had done. And you can pretty much place people. So these characters lived on the hill, the big hill, and Dr. Haskins lived down the other end of town. So I tucked Amanda in sort of down near the mill. So people have to read to learn out. Learn which characters.
Don't give it all away.
No.
Wonderful. Well, since we've kind of got there, would you like to tell us more about your characters? Or would you prefer that people discover them as they read the book?
Well, I should tell a little bit. Levin, the main character, is modeled after bits of family history, talk from conversations. I wanted to get a sense of the children's network versus the adults' network. One of the descendants told me time and time again, she'd ask her mother, well, why is that light-skinned woman stopping at grandmother's house? And she said, it's not for you to know. Wait till you're older. And again, the children are trying to find out, and the parents won't tell. So I wanted to be sympathetic to that, and in the end, reveal some of it. So that's where that came from.
Here at a wonderful genealogical institution, we all know about how family secrets can both be well kept and then also come out.
Exactly.
So I think that is a theme that it speaks to a lot of people who may come in and pick up your book. Just wondering, what was that all about? How can we find out?
Well, and the clues are generally around. The rug itself sort of ties in with Levin because he didn't realize that his mother had this rug. She kept it upstairs in a special place. And when a fire happens down the other end of town, to open the book, she takes this rug to take to her friend who has moved into this house. And as the book proceeds, we learn how she got it and what it means. And because of what's in it, she feels that she's lifted up when she steps on it. But when she's angry, she can stomp on it. And it therefore is 180 degrees of emotion.
Full circle of emotion.
And yeah. And so all of that comes out in the end. And then there's a little bit of continuation too.
Oh, okay. Excellent. So I can see the rug is kind of a character in itself.
Yes, it is. One doesn't always, my creative writing classes in high school didn't prepare me for that, but when you put a lot into it and you realize what's there, it tells its own story.
Yeah, and that's interesting to kind of think about things in people's lives that, play such a role.
Yes, yes.
And then
And just have family meaning.
they have family meaning, and how we communicate that to later generations. Like you have, as you've talked about, locations on your property that you've researched.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I find myself wondering, oh, well, how did people feel about this, massive lintel when they came in the door? What did it represent for them? I know what it means to me, but
Right.
and I think understanding more about that through research and also sort of historical imagination can like bridge a gap between us and people in the past, which is
Well, and in Waterford, it's all pretty much real. We had one student who was from another country, but he stood at the door and he said, "You guys did an amazing job. This school really looks real." We said, "It is real." And I wanted children to understand that these stone houses around here are built stone by stone, and it comes out of the fields that they cleared to do the farming that they came to Waterford to do.
it's not made. It's
Yes,
it is the thing itself.
A lot of effort goes into it. That can help tell the story.
That is interesting. You do come across that too with artifacts and documents. Sometimes people have a hard time understanding that, no, this is the actual thing that this person touched and wrote, which
yes.
I think it's so important to have experiences like children can have at the Second Street School, where they can walk into it and touch it and sit where people sat. And
yes, and respond to their name.
Exactly.
So we had one student, Jonathan Kennedy, one time. The school program is such that the children come in and you do the Pledge of Allegiance and you sing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. And then we have the class introduce itself. I'm here with my brothers and sisters. I didn't come yesterday because I had to wash the windows. And one boy stood up and said, "My name is Jonathan Kennedy. My master told me." And I said, "No, you do not have a master. We are free." For these 20 some years. So you want the kids to understand how it is, and yet, their stages and teaching different ages, the issues. But right here in Loudon, a lot went on. And again, Balch helps you do that because the microfilms of the newspapers with the slave advertisements. People can learn a lot from here, but don't try to look up these characters because they won't be here.
That is a good note.
Can't find it.
It hasn't come up a lot.
No.
That we've been asked to search for fictional characters. We've been asked to search for fictional relatives, but we help with that.
Yes. Okay.
Usually we can find real people they're based on.
Yes, indeed.
I do like that this is a story in the Reconstruction era, though, or just after the Reconstruction era, because I think that's an important period in American history that, especially in I know in my education, I did not learn much about. Maybe that's a result of where I was learning.
Well, it was, unfortunately, really self-peddled and told from the white point of view.
But I think it can tell us so much about how the country got to where we have been in the 20th century and today in the 21st century. It's important context. And also thinking about how people experience this time period and sort of giving a portal for people to do that.
That's right.
Is really valuable. So.
Well, thank you. Glad it works that way.
Is there anything that you would like to add that we haven't touched on?
Nothing that I can think of at the moment. I'll think of it afterward. Anyway, I'm certainly available to answer questions from people who do read it and wonder about it.
Wonderful. And that's always lovely to be able to ask the author herself questions. So we are excited to have 2 copies of the Thinkin Rug available here at the Balch Library. And one is actually one of the few books that you can check out if you have a Loudoun County Public Library card.
Yes.
So we invite you to come in and take a look and enjoy this work. Do you have any further historical fiction in you?
Well, I've been asked about a follow-up, but I think I should catch up on what I've been doing so far. But there certainly could be more stories, and other authors in the county are writing about them too.
Wonderful.
So at this point, this is hero.
No
work
pressure.
on some of my history and try to get it right.
Well, you and numerous other authors you've collaborated with have created some wonderful histories about Waterford that are heavily used
Well,
and very
thank you.
helpful.
That's good to hear.
In fact, I have someone coming later today to look at some of your books about the Waterford School,
Great.
or some of your books to research the Second Street School.
Oh, okay, good.
So all very helpful, and we look forward to future histories.
All right, we'll see how it goes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone, including you, have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you very much. You too.
And I'm gonna set this. There we go.